Hello and welcome to Pitt Resource Connection. I'm again Mary Smith, your host, and we have David Holler here, who is the Pitt County Schools Exceptional Children's Liaison. And when we say Pitt County Schools, we mean all the schools, aren't we?
Yep, everyone in Pitt County.
How many do we have? Do you know?
It's in the high 30s, depends on which ones you're counting and which ones you're not, because we have some very specialized ones.
So you're not busy at all, right?
Nah.
Okay, so tell me exactly, for those that are listening, you know, we hear the terms exceptional children, and I think that's just such a large blanket. Tell me, how is it defined? What is an exceptional children for Pitt County Schools?
Well, it is a very widely defined term. For me, it's any kid with a disability could be eligible for services through the EC, the Exceptional Children's Department. There is a process. There's kind of a qualifying process that you have to go through, but it's there to help kids with disabilities.
So does this get started at the beginning of the school year, prior to the school year? I mean, how do parents begin that process? Did they have to start before the school day begins and the first day of school?
No, it can really start at any time that the parent feels that there's a likelihood that there's a disability in their child. And by parent, I mean anyone in their family who can come in and do that. So the process can start at any time during the school year. The best way it starts is to have a conversation with the teacher of the child. So if your child's in pre-K through senior year in high school, they can go to the teacher and say, you know what, I have reason to believe that my child has a disability and might be eligible for an individualized education program, which is an IEP. That's how everyone in the system kind of refers to it, an IEP. Then what you can do is start the process, have a conversation with that teacher, see if they agree, see if they're seeing the same things, and then you can ask the principal to get an assessment done. And it's real easy to do, just write it out. You know, my child, I think, has an educational issue, maybe a disability, and I would like them to get assessed for that and put it in writing and give it to the school secretary.
So it'd be like a learning disability or ADAH and all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Yep, all of those are covered. In North Carolina, last count is there's 14 different categories that they can fit into. And to kind of get services through an IEP, you have to fit into one of the categories, and that's one of the parts of the assessment process that they're looking at, is to see which category they fit in. The great part is there's 14, which is a lot.
Right.
The not so great part is sometimes there are disabilities that don't fit exactly in, and that can be a very difficult situation.
They have an extra cross on their square or something.
Yeah, something's going on and they don't fit into that box.
Right. So you have other alternatives for children like that, though? Would you not like tutoring or other alternatives that they may be able to look at, extra teacher help? Or
Yeah, certainly having a conversation with a teacher might result in extra help or some very basic supports that the teacher can provide. There's also something called a 504 plan, which is not really part of the exceptional children's world. It's separate, but that can help with, for example, organizational difficulties. I've seen kids who have 504 plans who can't manage to get their homework from school to home. It's just popping out of their backpacks or something like that.
the dog ate it.
Yeah, the dog ate it on the way home. So that's just an example of something that you can do so that, you know, maybe the teacher's going, all right, is it all organized? Have they gone through a checklist or whatever the child needs to make it so their homework is actually making it home? And then the parent can see that it's there and can help them with the homework, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then the reverse process as well. But it's for something that doesn't kind of rise to the level of an actual disability.
Right.
It might be something lesser going on.
Study habits and that kind of stuff.
Study habits, or
Okay.
it's just something they need to look into.
So back to what you do. You said earlier that you are a liaison.
Yes.
Let's explain that role to me.
Well, a lot of what I do is help get resources into the family's hands. So if the child has an IEP or is in the process of getting an IEP, I would help with the resources. So there's a lot of people that don't know who to talk to in the school system. They are pretty sure there's a problem. They need to talk to somebody. They don't know who, and they can call me, and either I know or I can find out quickly and get them to be able to talk to the right person. So that's one part of what I do. The other part is I have a lot of resources outside of the school system, because even though the school system can provide a lot of resources, sometimes you need more.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of groups around Greenville that will provide resources. A lot of times they're free, and you can get those resources and they can be very beneficial for your child. So my children benefit from outside resources.
That's great. So who are, so you're in touch with all these other resources, and your role then is to help connect them to the resources they need in order for their child to make a successful trip through school.
That's the goal, yes.
Okay. So the age group we're working with is what now?
It can start as early as pre-K and go up through the age 22.
Wow, so the whole 12 years plus, right?
12 years plus. And we have kids who are starting in pre-K, and then they'll go to high school for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And if that's what they need, we can help them out with that.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And then they get a diploma as well. I mean, that's the goal here.
That is the goal. And you have to qualify for a diploma under North Carolina state law, but that is the goal.
Is it the same kind of diploma that an average student going through school would receive, or is it a little different?
Well, there's two different kinds of diplomas, and there's Future Ready and OCS. And
what's OCS?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Okay.
That's kind of out of my area of expertise.
Okay, so OCS, we'll Google it.
Yeah, there you go. That's occupational,
okay,
mostly. Preparing people for, not necessarily for going to college, but for going for a job right after school, or maybe going to community college,
Gotcha.
that sort of thing. It involves work and internships and that sort of thing. So those are kind of the two basic diplomas. And the goal is for these children with disabilities, with IEPs, to be able to complete those goals, to complete the items they need to complete to get those diplomas. As you might guess, with some kids with disabilities, that's not going to happen. We tried to make it happen, try and give them the same experience, the same opportunities, but for some kids that's just going to be very hard.
Yeah. So I noticed that at our meetings in Pitt Resource Connections, you mentioned parent workshops. So you get very involved with these as well to educate, right?
Yes. We try to have, during the school year, at least once a month, parent workshops. And the idea is to provide information to parents about resources and about the different ways they can kind of navigate the system. And we have ones in the beginning of the year. I usually do 4 in September on how to organize if your child has an individualized education program.
Okay.
And the reason why that's important is there's just lots and lots and lots of documents every year, and you want to be able to have that all organized. And I won't go through all of them, but just as examples, we have ones that are about IEPs, kind of the basic IEP course, because many people, when they first go to them, they don't really know what they're all about and how they help and what their goals are. So this kind of helps them understand that. We have ones on autism strategies. We have ones on communication strategies, adaptive technology, adaptive physical education, summer camps and activities. I did that one recently. We have math and reading strategies. speech and speech therapists, what they do and how they do it. And then the last one we have scheduled for this year is the pre-K to kindergarten transition, which can be kind of a hard transition. And usually it's harder for the parents than it is for the kids. So, but those are examples of what we do throughout the year.
How do parents find out about these workshops?
Well, if they have an IEP, their phone numbers are usually listed. And we do, I call it a robocall. It's a call that goes out to everybody who has a phone number that's listed. It's an incomplete list, unfortunately, because people change their phone numbers or their address and all that kind of stuff. So I really encourage parents of kids who have IEPs to keep that information updated so we can get that out to you. But the other way that we do it is we get flyers out to each one of the schools, and the teachers are supposed to get them in the backpacks of the kids who have IEPs.
Gotcha.
So that's 2 ways of doing it. And if anyone has any questions about this or the scheduling or suggesting other topics, they can give me a call, and I'd be happy to hear from them.
Awesome. Well, thank you, David. I think this has been really excellent information. It's something that I've heard about for many, many years, and thankfully didn't need it. But if you do, it's hard to find out where you get started. So, David, you're the starting spot.
I can be. Yep.
There
that's
you
for
go.
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in and talking about it.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been great.
All right. And thank you all for watching the Pitt Resource Connection.